Spirit Taught Podcast. Spirit Taught. Yeah.
This thing's falling.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. Do you want to fix
what?
it? Are we recording?
Yeah, we're recording.
Dang it, Daniel! I was singing. Edit that out.
Dude. This thing, dude. It's falling down. Okay. All right. Hey, welcome to the Spirit Taught Podcast. The mission is to bring people to worship and be in awe of God and to draw out people's gifts, callings, and insight to be challenged together in our perspective and mindset while learning how we can love God and those around us.
Daniel.
That was the first time that I did that.
I feel so much more silly than, like, my level of silliness in my body right now does not match the mission statement you just read. But I'm going to be me. Hi.
Dude, this podcast so far has opened in such a, like, ridiculously unserious, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, not ridiculously unserious, but
I really
this
hope you
thing's
don't
gonna
keep
be-
the pizza thing in there.
the pizza thing's going to be in there probably. I can cut out anything you want. But,
Cut this next thing I'm about to say
all right,
out.
so...
Thank you for cutting that out. I'm really embarrassed about what I just
Yeah,
said.
you're welcome. That was a bit inappropriate, especially for a podcast. Okay. What was I going to say about this thing? Oh, I was going to introduce the guest. Guest today, he has, what are your accolades?
I'm your brother-in-law,
You're my brother-in-law? Yeah.
first and foremost.
Okay.
Can I introduce myself?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I was going to actually ask you if you can just list off your accolades.
Well, I'm going to look right into camera one and tell you my accolades. Top of the list, Daniel's brother-in-law. Christ follower. That's I know you're not a fan of blasphemy on your podcast. I'm Daniel's brother-in-law. I'm a follower of Christ. I'm married to Alyssa, 2 sons, Micah and Calvin. I'm a pastor. I podcast, Wolfpack podcast. Follow it everywhere. Edit that out. Go ahead. I have been watching this comedian named Adam Ray, so I'll admit that I stole that line from him. He says that often when he tells a joke that doesn't land, he goes, "Oh, I'll edit that out," and then they never edit it out, and it's just kind of a joke in and of itself.
Oh yeah, I just did that. I just did that last podcast.
I gotta say, Daniel, your commitment to excellence, I do wish I had more of that. As we came in here, it was a whole ordeal to set this all up with the lights and the cameras and the makeup, and for you, not me. I was like, man, dude, he really, when he makes something, he makes it well. Where I make a lot of things, but I just make them, I spit it out, and I put it out as is with very little editing. And I like that. I think there's goodness there, but I need a little more of your excellence in my ordeals.
Which is better? I mean, you are doing what?
Your
way. Yeah.
No, I don't know.
No,
I'm not saying which. I'm not trying to say which one is the best.
Yeah.
I'm saying I could use I would be better if I added a little more of your excellence. Your excellency.
Well, man. So, got all the kids here. Gonna be
Little noise in the background.
Yeah, but this thing's gonna be like 2 feet down by the time we're.
Is it sinking?
Halfway through the podcast.
This is my futon.
It's all right.
Oh my goodness! I don't mean to brag on your podcast, but yeah, this is our futon.
That's a brag.
Yeah.
How's that a brag?
It's my futon.
How much was this futon?
Don't remember.
Well, so what do you do?
I'm a pastor. That's my career. I pastor a church called Bridge Church in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. We are a 2-location church, and I'm the campus pastor of our Oconomowoc campus.
I would say bring your mic just a little bit further.
Okay, just like this, like an ice cream cone? Yeah. That's what I tell my guests. Wolfpack Podcast. Follow us everywhere.
Okay, how long you been a pastor?
I've been.
So you still have it.
Sorry.
You still have the mic too close to your face.
Too close? I thought you said.
Yeah, no, I was saying too close.
You wanted it further.
Yeah, I thought you were joking. Yeah, I wanted it further away.
Okay, sorry. Wow, I feel dumb. Been a pastor for 10 years. 10, 11 years. Which is wild. Mutual friend of ours.
I thought it was longer.
Yeah, I guess it could be. I'm bad with dates, man. Even like I'm in recovery in my sobriety.
Okay, well, no, that makes sense because you're 35, right? You're 30.
Yeah, something like that. 10, 11 years.
Something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
Your age or?
I remember I became a credentialed minister.
You're 36.
35. About to be 36.
Oh, okay.
Next week.
Okay, so Alyssa's like a week
Alyssa's
older.
10 days older than me.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is wild. Do you ever think about that? That two people could be born 10 days apart in different states and then end up meeting? When I really think about it, when I think about it with my Brinkman brain, I go, okay, there's nothing special about that. When I think about it with my...
Because you just read how I was going to respond to that?
Yes.
Okay.
When I think about it with my Wolfe brain, I go, wow, man, what are the odds that two people, they're 10 days apart. I mean, these two women were like in labor.
Yeah. But
so close at the same time. Let me ask you this. I talked to Alyssa about this morning. I preached a message at my church this morning, and I preached on Exodus 34, verses 6 and 7. And the first 2/3 of the whole verse is God describing himself to Moses. And in the first 2/3 of the verse is him describing, I shouldn't say loving attributes because I think there's love in all of it, but him in the first 2/3 he's saying, I'm compassionate, gracious, abounding in steadfast love, forgiving sins. And then in the last third he says, but I will by no means clear the sins of the guilty, and I will repay the sins of a father on his children and his children's children to the third and fourth generation. And so when it's an expository message, which is what I typically try to do. When I got to the past the love and the grace and compassion, and I was moving into the section of the message about his anger towards sin, I said, now we're getting to the portion of the message that people don't really like to talk about, or the portion of the verse, or even the portion about God's character that people don't typically like to talk about or even acknowledge, the anger and the wrath of God. And then, so here's the illustration I used. I borrowed it from a lady named Barbara Boyd. I said, but the truth is that my name is Tyler Wolfe. And if you like the Tyler part but not the Wolfe part, you don't have the choice to choose one or the other. When you become friends with me, you become friends with Tyler Wolfe. You can't just say, I'm friends with Tyler but not the Wolfe. That was just the illustration as I segue into that part of the message. That illustration around our office was actually met with a lot of opposition. So I'm actually curious. I shouldn't have said that part because now I've created a bias maybe. But what is your thought on that illustration?
Well, I guess I'm just curious as to why it created
I think people were. I'm sorry to interrupt. I think people were taking it not like true opposition. People were saying, I don't know how I feel about that illustration because we really collaborate on sermons where I work. I think it was being taken too literally. And,
okay.
But yeah. at some point,
that's kind of how like illustrations kind of go. There's always like, if you pick it apart, there's always going to be some sort of issue with it.
My thought exactly. Like
it's an illustration.
At some point, every illustration falls apart.
Yeah.
And those are go ahead. Sorry.
Well, yeah, just that they're imperfect.
Yeah.
So.
Well, for me, I was talking to Alyssa about this last night, and I'm sorry if this is not what you want to talk about, but
this is a podcast.
I was talking. Thank you for allowing me to do this. I was talking to Alyssa about this last night. The two ends of the spectrum when it comes to illustrating points, whether it's a biblical concept or not, is I don't like the side where we take it too literally and we go, it doesn't work, it's not perfect enough. I'm so wired against perfectionism. Like, it's just not me. The other end of the spectrum is when we take an illustration too far. Where, okay, so like I believe it's a C.S. Lewis quote where he uses the illustration of a bicycle. He says, Christianity is like a bicycle. You're either moving forward or you're falling off. There's no standing still. So then some might be tempted to take that illustration and be like, yeah, and like hitting the brakes represents this rest.
Yeah.
And,
you could go maybe. You
and
could go.
if it's more of a road bike, or if it's more, people do that, and I go, dude, just.
Well, when it comes to like illustrations in the Bible, I've heard people go too far with the eagle thing. Well, people will.
Is it eagle?
Yeah, that's an eagle, all right.
I'm sorry.
No nutrients. the eagle egg. Give me no power. Give me no nutrients.
You're fun. What are you, fun?
What are you, fun or something? Dude. Okay. Where the message was on a verse in Isaiah where they're talking about the those who trust in the Lord will,
Mount up on
wings like eagles or something like that.
Yeah.
And where the issue with the illustrations, that a potential issue that illustrations can bring is people could start to look at scripture that way, and say, "Oh, eagles, let's dive deep into that." And all the aspects of eagles.
Yeah.
Okay, what about their talents? Does that have anything to say about God or whatever?
Right.
But well, no, like you're missing the point, because like just take it as the illustration as that it is, and the analogy that it is, and then just leave it alone. It's not something to be expounded on.
Yeah.
As much. And like with the illustration that you're talking about, illustrations are imperfect, and they serve their imperfect purpose to point to something that is the point. And then people make the illustration the point, and that's why it becomes an issue, because they over focus on it,
right?
I think.
Yeah, good point. Well said.
If you can tell us what is your God-given mission in life?
I remember at the beginning of last year, I felt like a sense of renewed vision with the phrase "help hurting people," and that was cool to hear that at the beginning of in January 2023, so a little over a year ago, because it was just another version of, I think, my greater long-term sense of mission in reaching the lost. But I just knew somehow. So in this current season, I would answer the question by saying to help hurting people. Some of those people don't share my religion. A lot of those people do, that have come across my path and just like landed in my life, that are hurting, and they love Jesus, but they're hurting maybe from a church experience or something like that. So in this season, it's been to help hurting people. Big picture, especially in alignment with Alyssa, your sister, my wife, Borat, my wife.
Oh,
The movie, I've never seen it, but to do justice.
Okay.
To do justice and to reach the lost.
Mm-hmm. Has that changed? Has that shifted?
I don't think so. I just think, no, it hasn't.
Mm-hmm.
I just think how that's kind of manifesting itself right now is to help hurting people.
Different, yeah. Manifests itself in different ways.
Yeah.
Can you bend this like up at you?
Is that bothering you? Yeah.
No, it's just gonna be in front of you.
We should have done that. Oh, this has just been a sound check. Have we started? I'm just joshing.
Yeah.
Thank you. That is so much better than what I was dealing with before.
Yeah, because I mean, too, it was gonna be in front of your face.
Nobody wants that. I'm loving this camera. We want to see all
that beard.
I'm loving looking at the camera.
I've noticed.
It's kind of fun. I feel in this podcast, because in my show, Wolfpack Podcast, follow us anywhere.
Save it. Save it.
No, I feel like I am having the most fun game of adult pretend during this podcast, because I never do video podcasts. So like looking at the camera.
Because you never do video.
I never do video podcasts. Yeah.
It's pretend.
I just feel like I'm pretending to be a legit podcaster right now.
Yeah, that's pretty much what my show is.
That's what all of it is, man. It's all just a game of... let me ask you this question.
I mean, it is.
What is another game of pretend that you play?
Oh, I play characters in real life.
Oh, my goodness, Daniel. Tell me more. I want to hear everything about what you mean by that.
I do bits, and people don't know, and sometimes they do
Mas.
pick up on it.
That was a Mexican character I was doing speaking Spanish.
Mosque? What?
Mas, more.
Mas.
Tell me
more.
Okay, so you actually mean it more of a playful way, not like a deep way.
It might be in a deeper way. Like I might not know exactly.
Oh, sure.
What I might just not even realize what kind of a character I'm trying to portray. I mean, I'm sure that happens. Trying to show myself to be someone I'm not in some way, but I kind of just meant like, what was the initial question?
What ways do you play pretend?
Oh yeah, just like playing characters, playing bits, doing bits. I pretend to be, just in facetious ways, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. I think you're one of the cases of who you see on stage is who you see on Monday in the office or whatever. Like, who you are is who you are all the time. What? And my boss, Todd Pope, same way. And that's one of the things.
That's huge, and I would love it to be that way, but
I would say that is so far from the truth for me. And that concept not being that way, I think gets a bad rap because what people in a way are saying about people that who you get on Mondays, who you get on Tuesday or whatever, is a compliment. They're like, they're not a hypocrite at all. I'm not saying I'm a hypocrite. It's been very liberating for me to say, I'm a pastor. I'm on stage almost every single Sunday. Who you see on Sunday is not who you're necessarily going to see on Thursday morning. Not in a bad way. Not like I'm being a hypocrite.
Yeah.
But dude, sometimes I get hyper and manic, and I put all my energy into getting somebody to do something crazy. You know what I mean? In like a manic episode.
Not actually manic though.
No, not manic in like the psychosis sense.
Yeah.
But I get a little manic.
Trying to get people to do something?
Yeah, remember, like, have you ever eaten a spoonful of hot sauce at my house? You probably have.
Sure.
And that was probably in a mild manic episode that I have, where I'm like, dude, Daniel, do it, it's gonna be hilarious, you know.
It was.
Maybe it's not manic. Maybe one of because you probably got really smart listeners. So.
Really smart listeners. Wow.
Yeah. Maybe they can set me straight.
I don't know if I'm talking to anybody right now. What is your solitary time like with God? I remember years ago you mentioned something like because you were running a lot in the morning. I'm sure you still do, but how that you made it sound like how that was taken over your time with God more so, or because you were praying while running, and you said something like you were doing your most favorite thing with your second favorite thing, and like you wanted to separate the two, and just focus in on the most favorite thing.
Yeah, because at the time I was training for races, so like marathons, so I was kind of tricking myself into like feeling better about the fact that I was prioritizing. So I would genuinely pray on runs, and I still pray during runs, but I knew I had to have like a quiet place time where it was dedicated and undivided. And that's more what it looks like now, but even that's not totally undivided, but for better reasons because of my kids. Then we'll come back to quality, or I would say consistency over quality. I would say my quiet time alone, communing with God, is on a scale of 1 to 10, let's say level 6 quality because my kids are around, when it could be a level 8 quality if I would do it when they're not around. But I choose the 6 because it's important to me that they see me in my spot on my couch with my Bible every single day. That needs to be something that it's just like we always saw them there, you know. But that's what it looks like for me. I try to be the first one awake in my house, so I can have some time of just undivided attention
Alone without your kids.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that doesn't always happen. but it's the same spot on my couch each day with coffee and scripture, and I do a scripture reading plan with the staff that work with me. And I really like, and now I'm just talking about devotional practices, but as far as my actual devotional practices, I really like Paul David Tripp, New Morning Mercies, and I actually really like Richard Rohr, even though I can't fully agree with everything he says. I like some of his contemplative practices and stuff, and he identifies with a lot of the Christian mystics throughout the years who I really enjoy.
Chew the baby, spit out the bones with the bathwater.
Chew the baby, spit out the bones. That is messed up, dude. You could say
That's the saying.
No, it's not. No, you're making a joke. What were we talking about?
The devotionals.
Yeah, but yeah. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater would be the saying you were trying to think of. But I think you were just being funny, which it was funny.
It was a bit, yeah.
It was a bit.
Oh, I knocked over your drink.
That's okay.
Got something in it.
It's okay. But yeah, that's a little bit about what I do.
Okay. What are you reading right now? Devotionals or?
Right now, I am reading. I don't know the title of it because I've just been referring to it as the biography of Tim Keller. Yeah. Written by Colin Hansen, but he titled it.
Colin Hansen. Okay.
Yeah, I love Colin Hansen. He's cool.
He does the Gospel
Bound. Yeah, Gospel Bound.
Gospel Bound.
Yeah, it's
podcast.
Yeah. He does others. Yeah, which
and the
is
Gospel
a Gospel
Coalition.
Yeah,
podcast too.
Yeah, Gospel Bound is part of Gospel Coalition, and then he does other stuff with them.
Okay.
But he wrote the biography, a 10-hour biography, because I listened to books, about Tim Keller, and it's very good. Which is where I got the Barbara Boyd illustration from. You can't have Barbara without Boyd. You can't have Tyler without Wolfe. From that book. So yeah, I'm reading. I'm reading the biography of Tim Keller, and I just got my hands on the very long history of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu by Robert Drysdale, which I'm about to read.
I'm reading the book Forgive by Tim Keller, and he had a really good analogy in it about, or I don't know if it's an analogy, but he was talking about how we're all, man, dude, I wish I could, I hope I can explain this correctly, but he was talking about how we're all naked, like in the Garden of Eden, and everybody has this sense of something is wrong with me, a sense of guilt in some way, that I'm either, and you can't do away with guilt, even if you say you have your own morals, or you create your own morals, or say that there is no sin, there is no God. You can't do away with that sense of guilt, or there's something wrong with me, something off about me, or something. And so, what people try to do then is essentially wear fig leaves. And the fig leaves, basically, he was saying, represent, they represent anything that we try to cover our nakedness with in life,
Wow, this sounds like Tim Keller.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Just anything that we do in life that. It could be our talents, it could be our job, it could be our parenting, it could be anything that we do in life that basically helps hide our nakedness, helps hide our guilt, our sense of guilt, or there's something wrong with me. So we all have this deep insecurity, and we're trying to numb it or excuse it away, or say there's nothing wrong with me by lifting ourselves up in some way, or something that we talk about, that we do, that makes us feel better about ourselves instead of worse.
Yeah.
And so he's basically saying that the fig leaves are inadequate to cover, and I just read that part, but I know he's going into what is the adequate, what is the sufficient way.
Wow, that's really good.
Yeah.
That's in Forgive?
Yeah, that's good. I'm going through it slowly right now because there's a bunch of other things that I'm doing, but...
Excuse me. Forgive me. But you're reading the book, so of course you will. Sorry, guys.
Did you do that just for...
No, I can't sneeze on command.
Well, so okay, about your kids. So you spoke at Root River Church,
Yes.
my church, recently about being an intentional father.
Yeah.
When I wanted to ask you this, when did that shift occur, like in your life, about being an intentional father, and because you were saying that being a present father is not enough, but you have to be. You can't just be present in their lives, but to do more, to do better, is to be an intentional father.
Yeah, like so. And a lot of this is laid out by John Tyson in his book, The Intentional Father, which was a great help to me. But yeah, what you're describing is making the shift from an involved dad to an intentional dad. And involved, so like you could show up to every single game they ever have and never miss one of their big things. You're always there, and you could play catch with them every day or whatever, play dolls with their daughter or whatever. That's probably sexist, sorry. But if you're that's called just being really involved. You know what I mean? And those are good things. But being intentional is prayerfully getting in tune with who they are and where they're at. Getting prayer, and prayerful is probably the key word. Prayerfully trying to get in tune with how they're seeing themselves and what they need to hear. A lot of that can happen through conversation, I think, with your kids. But also it's going to be from hearing the voice of God about what they're going through and what they need to hear. I try not to be damaged goods, where like I just try to prevent, things I went through. I don't think that fosters the best decision making, but
Prevent things you went through. What do you mean?
Yeah, so like if I fell off my bicycle as a kid, I might just do everything to prevent my kids from falling off a bicycle. Okay, I'm probably going to be controlling. I'm probably going to be too sheltering. Probably not going to allow them to take risks that are actually good for their development. Right? That's what I mean. That's fear-based decision making, which is never going to be the best way to do things. That being said, while trying to not do that, the truth is that there was a lot of things as a kid that like I needed to hear that no one was telling me. And it wasn't until retrospect that I realized, until later after the fact, that I was like, oh, that's what I needed to hear. Oh my gosh, that's what I've been trying to prove this whole time. Someone needed to tell me this or that, My dad was great,
Sure, yeah.
But they just didn't know what they didn't know. And I think the only way we can know what we don't know, outside of just conversation with our kids, which only goes so far, is hearing from God.
So, yeah, it's like really about being present with your kids, not just there. Because there's a difference between being physically present with them and like spiritually present or emotionally present. And to be present with God first, because if we're not present with God in the moments or in our parenting, then it's going to be worse off.
Yeah.
What is one of the biggest things that you're learning in parenting? Okay, well, first of all, when did that shift occur? Like, was it right when you had Micah?
I've been dreaming about being a dad for a long time. And so a lot of time before I was even married, dealing with my own father wound was maybe the beginning of it. But that was before I even had kids or even a wife. I think it was when I became a dad that I hit the ground running. And I'm the king of getting ahead of myself. I start my boy's path to manhood at age 6. I probably don't have to start that early, but I do it anyways because I love it and it can't hurt, know?
Yeah.
But I think just right when I became a dad, as soon as I laid eyes on Mike, I was like, all right, we're going to do, this is going to be it. This is everything.
It was probably a gradual build up to that point instead of just something changing right away.
Right.
Yeah. What is one of the biggest things you're learning in parenting right now?
I don't have a real positive answer, because I'll say I really struggle with codependency and And now that my oldest boy is getting a little bit older, he's 7.5, you know, I'm learning, oh, dude, so codependency has reached into my friendships, and it's reached into my marriage. But now I see it affecting my fatherhood. So that's just, it's just, all I can, so I'm not like, I don't have a positive lesson to share necessarily, because the first thing I think of is, I'm learning that if I don't stay on top of my codependent tendencies, it will negatively affect my relationship with my sons.
Codependency to what?
Codependency meaning like how it manifests itself for me, because maybe the classic version of codependency would be somebody enabling an addict in thinking they can fix them. So usually like the wife to an alcoholic husband can be codependent, going like, no, I can fix him. That's just one version of codependency. The version for me is I rely far too heavily on other people's happiness in order for me to be happy. So that does look like fixing, where I go, I can fix it. They're in a bad mood, or they seem mad. I can fix them, you know? And that looks like doing anything to make people happy, or the codependent me, will come to terms very quickly with the fact that this person cannot be made happy. And because you now feel like a failure as a codependent, you jump to resenting them. And so you either try to do things to fix unhappy people, which is controlling, not loving, or you resent them for not being happy, which is resentful, not loving. So you have to stay on top of it and go, set people free of your expectations. So I don't need someone else to be happy in order for me to be at peace. And it's not my responsibility to make other people happy or to like. A lot of it has to do with being liked, you know. Sometimes I so desperately want to be liked, and that's not gonna lead to the best parenthood. Just to bring this back to your topic, I'll just want my kids to like me and to be happy. Well, no, I'm gonna have to make some decisions that they're gonna love me, not like me, you know. So yeah, what I'm learning right now is that I can't let down my guard on codependency, because man, I don't want it to affect my friendships or my marriage, but I especially don't want it to affect my relationship with my kids.
What's one song that's impacting you lately?
It's actually a song I wrote, and no, I'm kidding. Modesto.
Yeah, why can't it be?
It's just not. It could be, but it's not.
Okay.
It's not the answer though.
Modesto?
Modesto. It was
Band?
the first single released off of the Pedro the Lion album that comes out next Thursday. Wait, 4th, 5th, next Friday. Not this Friday, but next.
Mm-hmm.
Dude.
When's the last time Pedro the Lion came out with
David Bazan.
We have to blur that out because for licensing.
Really? Do you really?
I don't know.
What'd you say? Yeah, he has a song called Modesto.
What?
That is rocking my world right now.
Okay. Musically, lyrically?
Both.
Okay.
Both. I don't pay attention to lyrics almost ever.
Yeah, I don't. I pay attention to lyrics more so than I used to, but it's still like...
I feel bad. I have friends that like don't listen to certain types of music or whatever, and I'm like, man, these people are like better than me. Holy cow!
It's because they're not listening to
It's because I'm not paying attention to the lyrics.
Yeah.
I'll like lean into some lyrics that people disagree with, be like, oh yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like Slayer. You know what I'm saying? I'll listen to Slayer because Slayer has the sound that 100 bands have copied. You know, and I don't listen to lyrics at all. I'm listening to the whole feeling that music gives you, you know?
Sure.
And it makes you just want to like go skateboard, even though I can't skateboard, you know?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. By the way, go to YouTube. Find Tyler Wolfe. Trying to go down that half pipe.
Oh yeah.
Eating it.
Yeah. If you go to my YouTube channel, I got a lot of embarrassing stuff. But that's just an example. So, but except for Pedro the Lion, I really listen to what Pedro says.
Okay.
Yeah, especially with this thing he's doing, because he's releasing 5 different albums. He's releasing his own autobiography in albums,
Cool.
all named after cities. and all the artwork is cohesive, different colors, but the same type of design.
Mm-hmm.
So for Pedro fans, like it's Pedro nerd heaven.
Yeah.
Because I love David Bazan. You and I went to a David Bazan
Yeah, I was just going to mention that.
living room show. I love David Bazan. He's the best songwriter on earth.
Yeah, living room show. Did you record?
I did. I
That-
bootlegged that.
Bootlegged it?
Yeah, I still have it. I love
And
David
you
Bazan
wanted-
so much that I have such rose-colored glasses on that when people say to me like, "Well, I've never heard of him," or "Is he really what about, the Beatles or whatever?" I jump straight to, "Well, you're an idiot. You don't know music. If you think he's not the best," it's like that's how much I like.
I get
him.
that. Yeah, because like if you love something that much and it's so creatively genius to you,
to me. Yeah,
then it's like, do you not understand?
right. Yeah. So yeah, I'm there for opinion, of course. People don't have to share that opinion. But man, I love his music. And you know what he said? When you love the truth enough, you start to tell it all the time. And when it gets you into trouble, you discover you don't mind.
Oh, nice.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave. What makes you feel most alive?
I don't know how to answer that, dude. I really don't know how to answer that. I love doing jujitsu. I do. That's probably not the right answer to your question. But, dude, it just satisfies such a primal urge. I love it, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's two things in jiu-jitsu. One's called a submission, one's called a sweep. Submission is where you finish the fight. You make them tap out, right? With a choke or an arm lock or something. That's great because you won the round, But a sweep is where you move from being in a bad position to being in the best position. So they're on top of you. You do a move there's a million sweeps, but you do a move called a sweep that then gets them off of being on top of you and you being on top of them. That's not how you win a fight, but man, that's a good feeling.
Okay.
I love sweeps. And I won't get into I won't nerd out on jiu-jitsu, but it's a metaphor for life. You know what I mean? It's full of them.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
But yeah,
Makes
jiu-jitsu, man, it's the best.
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah. For you. Yeah.
You should come grapple with me, dude.
I
got mats downstairs. Let's go move these cameras down there.
I'd be willing to do that. I'd be willing to go sometime. I have always wanted to get into some type of physical fighting thing or whatever.
It doesn't have to be fighting, but I do think a physical outlet, especially for men. John Tyson, John Mark Comer share this language called embodied faith, where you take spiritual concepts and you apply them. But it's basically a physical analogy or metaphor or whatever. Really important, I think, for getting it into your bones.
Yeah, same thing with climbing a mountain.
100%. Climbing a mountain, hiking.
Yeah.
Could be whatever your thing is, but
yeah,
there's nothing like fighting, dude.
Nice.
But marathons were that for a long time for me.
Sure. Yeah. Anything you want to close? Any closing thoughts? Any thoughts?
No, Daniel. I just really, really, really love you. And I love pretty much everything that you create. Especially your music. My Everlasting. Well-Watered Garden was the name of the other EP, correct?
No.
Dang it, what was the name of that
Well-Watered Garden was on my
EP? Was that
Everlasting.
what? No.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Well-Watered Garden. That's my favorite. What was the second EP called? I've listened to it a million times, I promise you. I just don't remember the name.
The End.
Really?
Yeah. The
Wow, I
end,
never paid
the
attention.
Panic and the Promise. The End, in parentheses, the Panic and the Promise. I
Oh
think.
my gosh, so good. I like those better than your acoustic album that you did, but that one's good too.
Yeah, me too.
But man, when you get your hands on something, I just know it's gonna be good. When we recorded,
This was planned.
this was planned. Me and Daniel are in a band called Brother. Yeah, really intense. This is our first album cover. When we did Brother Outlaw Volume 1, because it's our cover band. And
What songs did we do? Well,
what songs we did? Strawberry Fields, because we always do a Beatles song on our albums. Tambourine Man, written by Bob Dylan, made famous by the Byrds. We did Moses of the South by Color Revolt. And then we did Right Ahead, Young Sailor. And then we did a short cover of Baby by Justin Beecher featuring Kyle Rood.
But Justin Beecher.
That is Ed Bieber.
Yeah.
But when we would trade off recording, and when I would like leave you in the basement with the computer because you were like, I got an idea on something. Like sometimes it would be a guitar part, and it would drive me nuts because it had to be perfect for you. We've talked about this already. But then when it was like an editing thing, like manipulating sound, and it was all just you with headphones and a computer, I remember just knowing. It was like, let them cook, as the kids say. Like, I just knew whatever Daniel gets his hands on is going to turn to gold when it comes to art.
Thanks.
And it's most significant on Friends Hurt. Was that the name of the song we did?
Yeah.
On Friends Hurt, go to my SoundCloud and find the Brother Outlaw album, Volume 2. Listen to Friends Hurt and listen to what Daniel, the sound manipulation.
It stopped recording.
Oh, it did?
10 minutes ago. No, I'm just kidding.
What Daniel does on Friends Hurt with his vocals and his guitar lines, unbelievable. So all that to say, you are a wild flower, and I love you.
Wildflower.
And I love the art that you make.
Thanks. And you've recorded how many albums now? Or EPs, too?
I think 8. I think I have 8 or 10 releases. A few. One of them is 10 tracks, but that's my only full length album. Everything else is either 6 songs or I have a couple 3 songs, but just little. Really, it depends on the season. I wanted things in the right packages. But I have 8 or 10 releases because I'm quantity over quality.
Yeah. And you got like 2 different SoundClouds though, because you're like putting.
I ran out of space on the free account.
Yeah. So you are writing right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have 4 songs ready to go for another 4-song EP.
Okay, nice.
I'm in a band called Cart Corral with my friend Taylor Whitney. I'm in a cover band called Brother Outlaw with you, and then Matthew always plays on a song or two. Yeah, our other brother-in-law. My brother-in-law, his brother. And then I'm in another cover band called Earth Rider with Brian Bartz, Brandon Wilson, and Eric Steggs, we call him. I don't know him very well. We just play in a band together, but they call him Steggs. But I think maybe his last name's Stegler. I'm sorry, that's not useful or good information. But I'm in another band called Earth Rider.
Earth Rider, cool band name. And you guys do covers?
Yeah, we do covers.
Sweet. That's all. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. I love you.
Doing this.
Yep. Fade to black.
Fade to black.